When you look at your life and wonder why things aren't clicking, why success feels distant, why peace feels like a luxury, you need to ask yourself a hard question. Have I actually made myself the priority? Because here's the truth. Before anything outside of you can change, you have to change. The world responds not to what you want, but to who you are. And most people, they're so busy trying to manage everything around them, jobs, relationships, opinions, expectations, that they never stop to manage themselves. You're the foundation. Everything in your life, your goals, your discipline, your relationships, even the way people treat you, sits on top of who you are internally. And if that foundation is weak, if it's confused, scattered, if it lacks structure and direction, then everything built on top of it is going to wobble. Eventually, it'll fall. That's why the first rule is simple. You are the project. But let's be clear. This is not about narcissism. This isn't about walking around thinking the world owes you something. This is about responsibility. It's about becoming someone worth respecting in your own eyes. It's about taking full ownership of the fact that your life is a reflection of your choices, your habits, and your mindset. That's a heavy burden, but it's also the most liberating truth you'll ever realize, because it means you're not waiting on anyone to come save you. This kind of focus is uncomfortable. You're going to come face to face with all the things you've avoided, your laziness, your excuses, your anger, your fears. And that's exactly the point. Growth isn't supposed to feel good. It's supposed to feel real. Most people won't do this work. They'd rather distract themselves than face themselves. But you, if you're serious, if you're hungry, you'll sit with the discomfort. You'll stare it down, because that's where transformation happens. So what does it mean to focus on you? It means taking your time seriously, waking up with a plan, reading the books, training the body, feeding the mind. It means refusing to coast through life half asleep. It means not needing applause to keep going, not needing validation to feel worthy. It's deciding, I will build myself into someone I'm proud of, even if no one claps for me while I do it. That's not arrogance. That's integrity. That's self-respect. That's how you create a life that doesn't crumble under pressure, because it's built from the inside out. And here's the paradox. When you truly focus on yourself, on becoming disciplined, reliable, grounded, the world starts to shift. The right people show up. The right doors open. Not because you chase them. You don't have to chase what's meant for you when you're becoming what's meant for you. This isn't a one-week challenge. This is a lifetime commitment. You don't just work on yourself for a season. You make it a lifestyle, because the work is the reward. The process of becoming is where the pride is born. And if you stay on that path, if you commit to that internal transformation without needing the outside world to validate it, something powerful happens. You stop just existing and you start winning on your own terms. So remember this. You are the project. You are the work. And when you build yourself the right way, the rest of the world doesn't stand a chance at stopping you. One of the biggest traps we fall into today is this constant urge to measure ourselves against everyone else. Social media has made it worse. Everywhere you turn, someone's flaunting their success, their body, their relationships, their lifestyle. And without even realizing it, you start keeping score. You start asking, why not me? Why am I not there yet? But the question you really need to be asking is this. Why am I trying to run someone else's race when I haven't even finished building my own track? You see, the problem with comparison is that it blinds you to your own growth. It makes you forget where you started. It makes you resent the progress you've actually made because it doesn't look like someone else's highlight reel. But here's the truth you need to hear. You were never meant to compete with them. You were meant to evolve beyond who you used to be. This isn't a game where there's only one winner. Life isn't some scoreboard where your value increases only if you beat someone else. And when you live like it is, you start basing your identity on outcomes you can't control, on timelines that were never meant to match yours. You lose your authenticity trying to mirror someone else's path. But you're not here to copy, you're here to become. And that becoming, it's internal. It's invisible at first. It's you waking up one day and realizing that the old version of you would have quit by now, but you didn't. That's evolution. That's victory. It's you handling rejection with grace, managing anger with control, choosing discipline when distraction is easier. None of that is loud. None of it is flashy, but it's where real strength is forged. You want to know something powerful? The person you were last year, heck, even last month, shouldn't be able to keep up with who you are today. That's the kind of comparison that matters. Are you growing in patience, in purpose, in power? Not compared to your strangers online, but compared to your own past self, the only real opponent in this whole journey. But that takes humility, because when you're not obsessed with outperforming others, you're free to focus on the actual work. You're not rushing the process. You're not skipping steps trying to impress people who don't even know the battles you fought to get this far. You start to value substance over image. You stop needing constant validation, and that's when you become truly dangerous in the best way. See, evolution isn't loud. It's subtle. It happens in solitude, in discipline, in reflection. And that makes it easy to overlook, especially when you're surrounded by noise. But if you commit to that quiet, steady transformation, something shifts. You no longer envy what others have because you're too focused on what you're building. You're not desperate to be seen. You're committed to becoming someone worth seeing. So stop wasting your energy trying to be better than everyone else. Start using that energy to become better than you used to be. That's where freedom is. That's where fulfillment lives. The goal is not to win at someone else's life. The goal is to master your own. And when you stop competing and start evolving, you don't just grow. You transcend. You rise above the noise, above the insecurity, above the need to prove anything to anyone. You become your own standard, and no one can take that away from you. Everybody wants the breakthrough moment, the applause, the recognition, the dream realized. But almost nobody wants to do the boring stuff that makes those moments possible. That's the irony. You ask people if they're serious about growth, about success, and they'll nod their heads. But when it comes time to show up and do the same thing over and over again, without fanfare, without shortcuts, that's when most of them disappear. What separates the people who talk about change from the ones who actually live it? Discipline. But not the kind that's loud or dramatic. I'm talking about the quiet, consistent discipline. The one that shows up in the boring, repetitive routines most people think are beneath them. Waking up early when you don't feel like it. Reading when it would be easier to scroll. Saying no when everything in you wants to say yes. That's the grind people don't see. But it's the grind that builds greatness. You have to understand something. Success isn't the result of one massive leap. It's the result of thousands of tiny, deliberate steps. And most of those steps won't feel exciting. They won't feel impressive. In fact, they'll feel dull, routine, even invisible. But that's where the transformation happens. Because if you can train yourself to master the boring stuff, you become unstoppable. Not because it's hard, because most people just won't do it. And that's your advantage. We live in a culture that glorifies the highlight reel. Everyone wants the quick fix, the six-pack in 30 days, the overnight results. But what they don't realize is that shortcuts always cost you something, and that cost is depth. Real transformation doesn't come from intensity, it comes from consistency. You want to change your life? Pick one thing that matters and do it every day, whether you feel like it or not. That's the work. That's the difference between dabbling and committing. And listen, it's not about being perfect. You're going to miss a day. You'll slip up. That's part of it. But mastery comes when you stop starting over, when you stop making excuses, when you decide that no matter how ordinary the task feels, you're going to keep showing up, because the boring stuff, it sharpens your focus. It builds your confidence. It trains your mind to follow through even when motivation fades. That's the key. Motivation comes and goes, but structure will save you when your feelings try to sabotage you, because your feelings are unreliable. Some days they'll tell you to quit. Some days they'll say, what's the point? And if you follow them, you'll never get anywhere. But if you anchor yourself to a routine, to a clear, intentional set of habits, you build a system that doesn't rely on emotion. It relies on decision. And the truth is, doing the boring stuff well is what turns you into someone capable of handling the big moments when they finally arrive. You don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your preparation. So prepare well. Build the kind of discipline that doesn't depend on applause. Show up even when it's silent. That's where the foundation is laid. You don't have to feel inspired every day. You just have to do what needs to be done again and again and again until it becomes who you are. Because in the end, it's not the exciting moments that shape your life. It's the ones you thought didn't matter. Master those and the rest takes care of itself. Your energy is your currency. It's your fuel. And if you don't protect it, if you give it away too freely to things that don't serve you, to people who drain you, to habits that distract you, you'll wake up one day burned out, bitter, and wondering why nothing's working. But it's not that your goals are unreachable or that you lack potential. It's that you've been leaking energy in 1,000 little ways that seem harmless in the moment, but they add up. You have to start treating your energy like it's sacred, because it is. Your ability to focus, to grow, to follow through, that all depends on how well you manage what gets access to you. And here's a hard truth: not everything and not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. Some people are chaos in disguise. Some conversations are traps. Some environments are designed to keep you small. If you keep entertaining them out of habit, out of guilt, or because you're afraid of disappointing people, you're going to pay for it with your peace, your progress, your power, a truth. There's a difference between being kind and being available to everything. You're not here to be accessible 24/7. You're not obligated to engage every time someone wants your attention. Maturity is learning that silence is a response, that no is a full sentence, that you don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your space. Because if your mind is constantly cluttered with other people's noise, how are you supposed to hear your own voice? How are you supposed to build anything meaningful when your focus is constantly being hijacked? And it's not just people, it's habits. It's what you consume. But the first thing you do every morning is check your phone, scroll through other people's lives, dive into drama. Guess what? You've already handed over your energy before the day even started. And then you wonder why you feel scattered, anxious, unfocused. At the beginning of your day, your morning focus or solitude, that's prime real estate. Guard it. The same goes for your environment. Look around you. Your room, your workspace, your social circle. Are these spaces and people energizing you or draining you? Are they pushing you to grow or keeping you comfortable in the same cycles? You need to be ruthless about this. If something in your life costs you your clarity, your drive, your peace of mind, you're going to fail. Let's just get that out of the way. You're going to try things and fall flat. You're going to set goals and come up short. You're going to say the wrong thing, make the wrong move, bet on the wrong plan. And if that thought makes you uncomfortable, good. It should. Because if you're not failing at something, it probably means you're not trying anything that matters. Now, failure has this strange way of intimidating people into silence, into hiding. We associate it with shame, with inadequacy, as if it's some permanent stain on our ability. But failure isn't the enemy, avoiding it is. Because if you're so afraid of messing up that you never take a real shot, you've already lost the game. Growth is not born in the comfort of perfection. It's carved out in the aftermath of mistakes. The truth is, every time you fall and get back up, you're not starting over. You're starting from experience. And that experience, it's priceless. That's how you sharpen your instincts. That's how you figure out what works and what doesn't. It's how you build resilience. Not by reading about it, not by waiting until you feel ready, but by getting your hands dirty, taking the hit, and standing up anyway. See, people think success is this clean upward slope. They imagine progress as a straight line, but it's never that. Real progress looks like missteps and recalibrations, like nights where you question everything and mornings where you decide to keep going anyway. Success is messy. It's earned, not granted. And every person you admire, every leader, creator, innovator, they've all failed more times than they've succeeded. The only difference is they kept moving. They failed forward. And that's the key. You can't let a setback become an identity. Just because something didn't work doesn't mean you don't work. Just because you lost once doesn't mean you're a loser. You have to separate the outcome from your worth. You're allowed to fail without folding. You're allowed to hurt without quitting. You're allowed to be in progress without being ashamed of the process. But you have to decide what you're going to do with your failure. Are you going to let it define you or refine you? Because failing forward isn't just about bouncing back, it's about bouncing better. It's about extracting the lesson, adjusting the approach, strengthening the mindset. It's about making failure your teacher, not your judge. And when you shift your perspective like that, everything changes. You stop playing small. You stop hiding from opportunity. You start welcoming discomfort because you know that's where the growth lives. People will tell you to be fearless, but that's not the goal. The goal is to be courageous in the presence of fear. Courage is what keeps you moving even after things fall apart. Courage is what says, I might not win today, but I'm going to learn something that helps me win tomorrow. So take the risk, launch the idea, have the conversation, sign up for the challenge. Whatever fail is waiting on the other side of that leap, let it come. Because if you're willing to fall forward, to stumble with purpose, to mess up, and still choose to keep building, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that can hold you back long term. Your failure isn't the end of the story. It's the start of your rise. Keep moving, keep learning. And every time you fall, make sure you fall in the direction of who you're becoming. Most people give up too early. They show up once, maybe twice, and when the results don't come fast enough, they retreat. But real progress, the kind that changes you, it's earned through repetition, through consistency, through doing the work long after the mood to do it has faded. You don't get what you want by trying, you get it by returning over and over again. Not because it's easy, but because it matters. The truth is, you're going to feel discouraged. You're going to have days where everything feels stuck, where the mountain looks too steep. But that's not your cue to quit. That's your cue to dig deeper. Because most of the time, the gap between you and what you want isn't talent. It's not luck. It's endurance. It's the willingness to stay in the fight a little longer than everyone else. Keep showing up when it's slow, when it's quiet, when it's thankless. Keep showing up for the vision only you can see. That's how momentum builds. That's how breakthroughs happen. And one day, if you refuse to quit, you'll look back and realize it was never about being the most gifted, and it was about being the most relentless. So now you know. This journey, it was never about chasing applause, outshining others, or waiting for perfect conditions. It's about turning inward, about recognizing that the real work is you. You are the foundation. You are the responsibility. And everything you want, clarity, confidence, purpose, it begins the moment you decide to stop outsourcing your power and start owning your path. You stop competing and you start evolving. You embrace the quiet grind, the boring steps that nobody claps for. You protect your mind like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. You let failure shape you, not shame you. You fall forward every single time. And no matter what comes, no matter how long it takes, you keep showing up until the life you've been building from the inside out finally stands tall around you. This isn't about luck. It's not about timing. It's about commitment. Unshakable, daily, personal commitment to become someone who doesn't just chase wins, but earns them through focus, through discipline, through unrelenting belief. So focus on you until you win, and then keep going. Because this isn't the finish line. It's just the beginning of who you were always meant to become.